Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well, and I'm happy to see you here today in our video lesson, which was specifically created for the distant learners of economics field. My name is Kahorova Nigina. I'm an English teacher of Karsha State Technical University, and today we will talk about the Unit 18, Globalization. Let's get our lesson started. And here is the list of what we are going to learn by the end of the lesson. So firstly, we will understand globalization. We will define and explain the concept of global integration. And we will identify key impacts on economies and trade. Thirdly, we will discuss advantages and disadvantages critically. And finally, we will apply grammar in globalization discussions. And before we move on to the main part, I would like to ask you some questions, and I would like you to think about them and prepare your answers. So, first question, what comes to your mind when you hear globalization? Second question, is globalization good for developing countries? You should consider both opportunities and challenges. And thirdly, how does globalization affect culture? Think about traditions, values, and identity. And now we move on to the next part. So now I would like to talk about globalization and its economic effects. Globalization is the process in which countries become more connected through trade, technology, communication, investment, and business. Because of globalization, goods, services, money, and information can move more easily across borders. In simple words, the world is becoming more interconnected, like one global community. Technology and the internet have played a huge role in accelerating globalization. Today, people can communicate instantly through smartphones, social media, and online platforms. For example, a student in Uzbekistan can study from an American university online, or a small business can sell products internationally through websites like Amazon and Alibaba. This shows how globalization connects people and markets around the world. Multinational companies are also very important in globalization. Companies such as Apple, Coca-Cola, and Samsung operate in many countries. They produce goods in one country and sell them globally. For example, an iPhone may be designed in the United States, produced with parts from different countries, and assembled in China before being sold worldwide. Now let's discuss the positive economic effects of globalization. First, globalization encourages economic growth and expansion. Countries can trade with international markets and increase their income. For example, China became one of the world's largest economies because it expanded its manufacturing and exports globally. Second, globalization creates more job opportunities. Many international companies open factories and offices in developing countries. For example, textile factories in Bangladesh provide jobs for thousands of workers who produce clothes for global brands. Third, globalization gives business access to international markets. A local company can now sell products to customers around the world using online platforms. Uzbek fruits, textiles, and handicrafts can be exported to foreign countries more easily than before. Another advantage is lower production costs. Companies often produce goods in countries where labor or materials are cheaper. This can reduce prices for consumers. For example, electronics and clothing are often less expensive because Production is spread across different countries. However, globalization also has negative effects. One major problem is job losses in some industries. When companies move factories to countries with cheaper labor, workers in other countries may lose their jobs. For example, some manufacturing workers in the United States lost employment when factories moved abroad. Another issue is income inequality. Large companies and skilled workers may earn more money, while low-skilled workers may not benefit equally. As a result, the gap between rich and poor can increase. Globalization may also lead to cultural homogenization. This means local cultures and traditions can become weaker because global brands, movies, and music influence people everywhere. For example, many young people around the world watch the same Hollywood films or eat the same fast food brands. Finally, globalization can create environmental problems. International production and transportation increase pollution and carbon emissions. Large factories may also damage natural resources if environmental laws are weak. In conclusion, globalization has both advantages and disadvantages. It helps countries grow economically, creates opportunities, and connects people worldwide. At the same time, it can cause inequality, unemployment, cultural changes, and environmental challenges. Therefore, governments and businesses should work together to make globalization fairer and more sustainable for everyone. Now I'm going to ask you several questions in order to check your comprehension relating the topic. So the first question, what is globalization? Define the term in your own words. Second question, what moves more freely under globalization? Identify key elements that cross borders. Third question, name 2 positive effects. So select from the list discussed. And the fourth question, name 2 negative effects. And the last question, what role do multinational companies play? Explain their significance in global integration. Well done, everyone. Now we can move to the true or false activity part. Here you should read the statements and mark them as true or false. You'll be given 30 seconds and you may take additionally time by pressing pause, and after having done it, we can check the answers together. Good job, everyone. Now let's check the true or false statements together and comment on them. So first, globalization increases international connections. This is true statement. Globalization connects countries through trade, technology, communication, and culture. Today, people, businesses, and governments interact more than before. Second statement, technology slows down globalization. This is false. In fact, technology speeds up globalization. The internet, smartphones, and online communication help people connect instantly around the world. Third statement, globalization can reduce production costs. This is true. Many companies produce goods in countries where labor and materials are cheaper, which helps lower production costs. Fourth statement, all industries benefit equally. This statement is false. Some industries grow because of globalization, while others may lose jobs or face strong international competition. Fifth statement: cultural exchange is part of globalization. The statement is true. People share music, food, fashion, traditions, and ideas globally, creating cultural exchange between countries. Sixth statement: multinational companies operate in many countries. The statement is true. Large companies like Apple or Samsung work in different countries around the world. Seventh statement: globalization only has positive effects. This is false. Globalization has both advantages and disadvantages, including economic growth, but also inequality and environmental problems. Eighth statement: the internet supports global trade. This statement is true. Businesses can sell products online internationally, and customers can buy goods from different countries easily. Well done, everyone. These statements help us understand that globalization is a complex process with both positive and negative impacts on the world economy and society. In the next exercise, we will do some listening task. We will listen to a podcast and fill in the blanks with missing words. Be attentive and try to find correct words.
Listening. Unit 18. Globalization. Listen and fill in the blanks. Globalization has increased international trade and cooperation. Companies can produce goods in different countries. If countries reduce trade barriers, international trade will grow. Technology allows businesses to operate globally. However, if local industries cannot compete, they will close. Governments must balance economic growth with social protection.
Alright, dear listener, I think you all have managed to finish the task. If so, let's check out the answers together. So, first sentence: globalization has increased international trade. Second sentence: companies can produce goods in different countries. The third sentence: if countries reduce trade barriers, international trade will grow. The fourth statement: technology allows businesses to operate globally. The fifth sentence: however, if local industries cannot compete, they will close. And the last sentence: governments must balance economic growth with social protection. Good job, everyone. I think this exercise didn't cause you any difficulties and you could find all the correct answers. Now let's watch an interesting video which will help us enlarge our vocabulary supply with useful words and phrases belonging to the topic globalization.
To Master IELTS online video lessons. In this video, you're going to learn some useful words and phrases related to globalization. You are very likely to get questions related to this topic, so let's polish our vocabulary related to globalization. So the first important words are developing countries and developed countries. Developing countries are countries with little industrial and economic activity where people have low incomes. Developed countries are countries with a lot of industrial and economic activity where people generally have high incomes. Another term that is connected with developing countries is emerging economy or emerging market economy, which means a nation's economy progressing towards becoming developed and advanced. Now, let's talk about the term global and some combinations with it, which are global village, global economy, and global trade. Global village means the whole world looked at as a single community that's connected by electronic communication systems. Example: television has helped to create a global village. A problem caused by global village is the loss of cultural identity. Global economy It refers to the economy of the world comprising economies of different countries closely interrelated. Example: due to global economy, most of the goods are likely to cost the same around the world. Global trade. It means exchange of goods between countries. Example: global trade not only results in increased efficiency, but also allows countries to participate in global economy. When we speak about globalization, we tend to see many developed countries outsourcing production to developing countries. But this has created the situation of sweat factories or sweatshops. Outsourcing. It means finding goods or services outside a country. Sweatshop. It's a workplace with unacceptably severe conditions and usually extremely low wages. Now let's look at some advantages of globalization. Globalization plays an important role in contributing to sustainable prosperity for all people. Prosperity means the state of being successful, especially in making money. A further significant advantage of globalization is that over the year consumerism has increased significantly. Consumerism is the belief that it's good for a society or an individual person to buy and use a large quantity of goods and services. Globalization has also contributed to improve the standard of living. Standard of living is a combination of factors such as income, availability of employment, affordability of housing, quality of healthcare, and many others. Another advantage of globalization is the cultural convergence and the fact that cultural divergence has decreased. Cultural convergence means different cultures blending together. Cultural divergence, the difference between cultures. Now let's look at the disadvantages of globalization. The obvious disadvantage of globalization is that it has increased environmental pollution. The reason of this is a dramatic increase in industrial activities and transportation. This has increased the burning of fossil fuels and the emission of greenhouse gases. Besides the environmental pollution, people's lifestyle has become less healthy. In other words, due to globalization, the world has become more competitive, and this has made people work more hours and involve themselves in less physical activities. As a result, different health problems such as obesity are becoming more widespread. Although globalization has minimized the cultural differences, it might lead to the loss of cultural identity. So the future generations might find studying history not that significant.
Alright everyone, for your homework you need to prepare a creative mini report called Globalization in My Country. Your report should be around 300 words. In your writing, explain how globalization has affected Uzbekistan, which industries benefit the most from globalization, and what problems may appear in the future. Try to use real ideas and examples. Also, don't forget to use the grammar task. You must write at least 5 first conditional sentences about the future impact of globalization. For example, if technology continues to develop, international trade will grow faster. Optionally, you can include a real example of a multinational company working in Uzbekistan, such as Coca-Cola or Samsung. And please make your report clear, organized, and creative. I'm sure you will do a great job. Good luck with your studies. Take care and see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.